Good evening and welcome to the No Base at Home University. My name is Sarita Brown. I'm senior producer in the London Borough of Culture team, responsible for the No Base at Home project. This is our fourth No Base at Home University, and over the last few weeks we've been exploring different subjects such as the history of sound system, pirate radio, and the phenomenal women in reggae and Black British music. And tonight we're going to be exploring the roots of reggae into more contemporary and mainstream Black British music. We have a fantastic panel with us tonight that is going to be chaired by Dr. Monique Charles. But I'm not going to get into introducing the panel. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Monique Charles in a little while. But before that, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please do get in touch. Please do use the chat and the Q&A. Let us know where you're listening or watching us from tonight. All of your questions go into those boxes. I will be monitoring that, and at around 8 o'clock, I will appear on the screen to start the Q&A. Also, if you're following or you'd like to follow by closed caption, please do. There's a little button at the bottom of the screen, which is CC. Please click on that, and that will enable you to view it with closed captioning. At the end of the session, I'll come back just to wrap it up. But thank you for joining us. I'm really excited about tonight's panel, and I will speak to you later in the evening.
Hello and welcome everybody to From Dancehall to Garage, the seeds and roots of Black British music. I'm hoping you can all hear me. My name is Dr. Monique Charles and I am chairing today's event. We have really great panelists here who I will introduce shortly. But before that, I suppose I should introduce myself. So yes, I'm Dr. Monique Charles. So I'm an academic, I'm a researcher, I'm a writer. I suppose my formal title is cultural sociologist and theorist, and you may think, what on earth is she doing here? Well, my area of research and expertise is around Black British music. My PhD was on grime music, and what I do is I document the culture, which is the kind of layman's term that has been going around, and so I have quite a bit of knowledge about this sort of thing. So I'm here to kind of chair and introduce the panelists and get the panelists talking, and hopefully through these conversations you guys will be able to ask lots of questions about the experiences of the panelists, as well as adding comments and agreeing to things that you may hear them say as well. So who are the panelists, you might be asking? You probably know already if you've seen the flyers going around on social media, but first we have MC Bushkin, who you may have heard of. I'm hoping you have. And he is the founder and frontman of the infamous group The Heartless Crew, known for their groundbreaking UK garage sound. And they had chart success. And they were the founders of UK and grime music. They kind of helped shift the sound from the more polished kind of UK garage sound towards the more gritty, grimy sound. During their peak, the talented trio, they toured the UK, they toured outside the UK, and they introduced UK garage and grime to the world, okay, while sharing the stage with many internationally acclaimed artists. And all of this work later earned them a MOBO nomination, as well as a UMA award for their contributions to music. Now, Bushkin is focused on his solo career as a recording artist, and his undeniable charm makes him stand out from everybody else. His thought-provoking lyrics, his poignant delivery, and energetic personality make him impossible to pigeonhole, and he's extremely unique and very creative. So although humbled by his accomplishments thus far, Bushkin hopes that through his new music and working with new artists on his label, Bush Bash Recordings, listeners and clubbers alike will feel his energy, his passion and vision for music. The future is looking absolutely good, you know. So that's our first panelist. Next panelist is Soulful Emma Louise, who you also may have heard of. She's a singer and songwriter, and she's made it her mission to bring the UK soul back to its grassroots. Through contemporary musicality, business, artistic precision and hypnotic vocal arrangements, she has firmly secured her reputation within the UK soul scene as doing just that. Soulful Emma Louise is a North London native, is a classically trained musician, and started her career with the UK reggae industry as a backing vocalist and arranger. So we've got the reggae in there already, right? She was then picked up by the one and only Jazzy B, who I'm hoping we all know of, where she was asked to join the British soul legends Soul to Soul. So obviously Jazzy B's from Soul to Soul, and she was within Soul to Soul as lead as well as backing vocalist as well. And she toured with them as part of the collective for over a decade. So this is heavyweights we're talking here, all right? Learning from the best, she signed her first record deal in 2009, but she realized that label life wasn't for her. And then she just passionately learned every aspect of the business and built up a team that shared the same passion for UK soul music that she has. And she relaunched herself as an independent artist in 2015 with her anthem, Elevation. This was ultimately a pivotal moment in her music career. And now if you fast forward to 2020, she has worked with a plethora of people. So she's worked with the likes of DJ Spen, Misha Paris, Booker T, SOS Band, and Alicia Keys. And this is just to name a few. Okay, so with worldwide tours and admiration from the likes of Tony Blackburn, Gordon Mack, and Calvin Francis, and having 3 top 10 hits in the UK and the USA, and she's on her way to releasing her highly anticipated debut album in 2021. Soulful Emma Louise continues to go from strength to strength and has more than exceeded her stated musical mission. And last but definitely not least, we have Kez. Kez Eccleston is an artist based in North West London and works within the mediums of video, photo, and sound. And his practice over the years have been heavily centered around visually archiving the narratives of the local communities and spaces that he identifies with. Conceptually, he's very interested in the relationship between the individual and the community, and in particular, how individuals begin to influence and shape the community and the culture that they identify with. Over the past year, he's become very heavily involved with collaborative projects and working with small groups of other artists, curating exhibitions for the local community in and around North West London. He enjoys exploring his creativity in relation to social practice and approaches to effective documentation of local communities and spaces. And this, for him, has inspired critical approaches in relation to the way that he documents these narratives and how these narratives are perceived and also how they're presented. He's also done some work with London Borough of Culture 2020. And if you log on to the London Borough of Culture 2020 site, you will see him interviewing Ekwo Eshon, an amazing art critic, originally from Brent, and his brother also, Kodro Eshon, has influenced some of my academic work as well. So yeah, there's a clip somewhere out there. I'm sure Zaretha or somebody may be able to post the link in the chat, or you can find it on the website. Okay. So that is that really. I should also say I'm a Brent girl. Not born in Brent, but lived most of my life in Brent. Worked in Brent, schooled in Brent, studied in Brent, all that good stuff. So I'm really, really happy and honoured to be here. So thank you, London Borough of Culture, for having me. Okay, so before we start getting into the discussion, I will quickly kind of do a whistle-stop tour of just some stuff about reggae and its impact, especially when it comes to Brent, and how it kind of helped to build a culture and then go on to move on to making or contributing to new genres of music. So is it possible to get the slides? Thank you. See, the voice from above comes and takes care of things. That's excellent. Thank you. Okay, so one of the first points I think I'd like to make, which I usually do make, is if we put on our academic hat, music migrates with people. So that's the first thing that I want you to have in your mind. Music migrates with people. And if we look at this diagram, we're starting to look at the 1940s. So if we just think about it in the British context, we have 1948, the SS Windrush is the first ship to come over from the Caribbean, or from Jamaica in particular, to the UK after the Second World War, after Britain has called out to its subjects to ask people to come and rebuild the country, build the NHS, Transport for London, all that sort of stuff, calling people from the colonies. So music migrates with people. So it's no surprise that people come from wherever they come from to Britain, and they bring their musical taste and their musical sensibilities with them. And so when we think about people coming from the colonies, the largest Black or the largest African descended group of people that have come to the UK, or come to Britain, were of Jamaican descent. So there were obviously lots of different people from different Caribbean islands and some parts of West Africa at that time in particular, but the largest group were people of Jamaican descent. So obviously they're going to bring their musical sensibilities with them. And so as we can see here, once people start to come and live, they start to infiltrate into the UK scene, as we can see by the 1950s here. And so Black music is played for the first time on national radio. We're starting to have a Black presence in a more substantive terms in Britain. So Black people have been in Britain for hundreds and thousands of years, but in significant numbers, the SS Windrush kind of marks a particular time. So the journey to Carnival begins in the 1950s as we have more and more people coming from the Caribbean, and the steady flow of people are coming into Britain. And there's particularly in the case of Jamaica, from the late 40s all the way to the 80s, you have a steady stream of Jamaican people coming in. We also have the introduction of, blue beat and Jamaican soul, and R&B emerges, and this is all coming into the British music scene. We have in the 60s, this is really kind of beginning to take hold. We have the Jamaican ska records go top 5. The term reggae arrives as well in the British context as well. And we have pop crosses over with mixed bands, and they start to arrive in the 1960s. So we're starting to see progression from this migration and this continual movement of people. We have Jamaican ska in the 1960s, and if we think about the Mods, for example, which are I suppose the parents of skinheads, they like ska music. They like that sort of music, and DM skinheads and all that sort of stuff. But by the time we get to the 1970s, British ska, it kind of takes on a form of its own. It's kind of, the sound is similar, but it's kind of got British inflections, and it really goes pop. It crosses over, it goes pop. Bob Marley is obviously a big deal in the 1970s as well. And we also have punk. Punk becomes a thing at this particular time. You have punky reggae and all this sort of stuff going on. Right near the end, we've got two-tone. But the 1970s is really, really important because at this time, there were lots of things happening in and around Brent. So if we think about when people come, when they first come and they end up, at the big stations, big train stations, Paddington, Victoria, for example, people need to find somewhere to live quite close by. So you find people people that have migrated are finding spaces as close by as possible, providing there are no blacks, no dogs, no Irish signs. So if we start to kind of think about Paddington, and as we start to move out, we get to Brent. So if you think about people of Jamaican descent or of Caribbean descent or Afro-diasporic descent, they kind of cluster in the southern part, or at least they did, in the southern part of Brent, because that, I suppose, that's closest to some of these major kind of stations, these major ports. So in the 70s, we start to have hubs and cultural spaces where this music is made and this music is shared by people that have migrated, but also by now, between the 40s and 70s, children that have been born in the UK that have listened and learnt this music. Let me watch the time because I really can talk. Okay, and so we think about it as the 70s, we have Lovers Rock coming in as well. And so what we have Lovers Rock, we have reggae, we have all of this music that young people are growing up and listening to. We also have the influence, when we get into the 80s, we have the influence of fast chat, because we're now starting to put British accents into the reggae as well. And a lot of these things were happening in and around Brent. So again, as I said, the culture or the scene was being built. We have Pirate Radio in Neasden, Rebel Radio. We have the Mean Fiddler in Harlesden in 1982, a live music venue where people could begin to share and exchange with music. We've got the Apollo nightclub where people would go raving. We have, the Theorem Music Village where people would actually go and record music. So we're starting to have pockets and places, particularly in the southern parts of Brent. We have, Jetstar Records, we have Starlight Records, we have Hawkeye Records. We're starting to have places where people can make, create, and distribute music. And music that makes sense to them, the reggae. Let me speed up because, I can keep going. All right. So in the 80s, we have this kind of fast chat. The reggae is starting to change. It's got the British inflection. By the time we get to the 90s, we have drum and bass. We have jungle started in the late 80s, but it became more of a thing in the 90s. We have drum and bass, we have trip hop. So we're starting to have, I suppose, newer sounds or more updated sounds as the newer generation begin to kind of come up and grow through what they know to be reggae and kind of put their own spin on it. By the time we get to the late 1990s, we are starting to see even more shifts. So we had US Garage come over. We kind of zhuzhed it up and added some of our reggae, dancehall, dub, bass lines to it, kind of zhuzhed it a little bit. And then we had UK Garage. Then from there, the sound incorporated more reggae sounds. And then it started to get a bit darker, a bit grimy garage into grime. Okay, so Wiley called what he made Esky beats, but there are many kind of things in relation to the culture, versioning, so that's the instrumentals speaking over the tracks, or chatting, toasting over the tracks, many things like that, getting a reload or a rewind. Many of these kind of practices are rooted through reggae. That was a kind of consistent practice that went along. I could go on and on forever, but what I will say is this amazing diagram that kind of does a brief summarization of everything has been produced by Michael Riley from the University of Westminster. And I think I will stop because I can go on forever. And I think now we can begin to start asking questions. So I'm hoping that was a whistle-stop tour that kind of gives you a bit of an insight. But now I just kind of want to open it up to my amazing panelists, MC Bushkin, Soulful Emma Louise, and Kez. And I want you to kind of discuss or share the influences of reggae sounds and culture on your own development as artists. Anyone care to jump in, share their truth and their story? Anyone?
I'll start then. I think for me, when I was thinking about it, I think I have never really thought about the influence of reggae, but it's undeniable because of the fact that I started my career in reggae. The instrumentation of reggae is live, and I kind of pride myself in making sure that all the instrumentation in my music is played in live. Where again, my solo career started, my kind of the upheaval of my music career as a vocalist and a vocal arranger was in a sound system based soul group, Soul to Soul. A person that I looked up to, my mentor, especially as a vocalist, was one of the pioneers of Lovers Rock, Karen Wheeler. And a lot of people, they liken my music obviously to Soul. And it's something that I really pride myself in, because if you listen to the instrumentation, the drum and bass based sound of Soul to Soul, again, reggae is the grassroots, the sound system is the grassroots of Soul to Soul. So that's how I would identify my influence. And also the fact that I try to keep my lyrics and content quite conscious and empowering. A lot of the reggae artists that I grew up around and a lot of the reggae artists that I still listen to are quite conscious. And I think that's important to me. Like, what's the message? A lot of reggae music is stemmed from what's the message. And I know Jazzy and, his team of writers, they're kind of, they pride themselves in what's their message? What is the message that you're putting out?
Great. Anybody else to jump in, guys? Jump in. It's a discussion.
Yo, evening everybody.
Hey.
Nice talk there, Ems. Yeah, you know what? Reggae is definitely that influenced me or my development as an artist. Kind of started subconsciously, probably from like going to family functions, christenings, and get-togethers with the family where reggae just in the background and the kids all kind of fighting in one room, but the music's just there. You get me? And yes, we're just soaking it up. And then moving on from that, I've got an older brother. He's like 4 years older than me. He had like a youth sound system when we was growing up. So he was always playing reggae music in his room, and I was always trying to sneak in with him and his friends and clap his records, or when he was out, play on his turntables. And then like after that, in like the early Heartless days, obviously Heartless Crew, we started as a sound system. So we was influenced by sound like Stone Love, Black Cat, Coxon, Saxon, sounds over here, and then artists like Yellow Man. Yellow Man was one of my favorites back in the day. With, Colonel Josie Wells, these kind of Horseman, and these kind of reggae artists, they set the trend, and man like Yellow Man, he started this whole people to what Drake and the singing and chatting and kind of thing like that. It was Yellow Man for me who was busting them kind of sing J styles from early at me, which we've all incorporated. And then moving further down when the music kind of started to speed up. I know we had our kind of fast chatting thing over here, but man like Papa San for me and Lieutenant Stitchy, them man there set the trend with the fast tongue talking and them things there. So yeah, man, these are my influences. And then even moving further back down after that, it was people like Tiger, you understand, who influenced me, and Ninja Man. And these two, like, I hold them dear because they were just so different, you understand, like they just stood out. And yeah, man, all of these kind of elements here, which stemmed from the early reggae days, helped kind of build myself and the Heartless Crew as a sound system.
Okay. Okay, Kez?
And yeah, I was gonna say it's weird because I'm very young, so by the time I deeped in the sounds that you know were being played to me as a kid, like it's almost like an out of body feeling because I'm Jamaican and Guyanese, so I grew up around a lot of you know, reggae from early, born into it. So like, you know, I grew up hearing the likes of Vernon Spear, Third World, obviously your Bob Marleys and whatnot, and my pops just kept it going. But until I really think it sunk in with me, the sounds I was listening to and the culture and the history I was listening to was a lot later. But I guess I'm thankful now, and I think it serves as a big part of a big reference for the work I do now and the things I'm interested in. So yeah, it's kind of like to begin with, I wasn't really rocking with reggae. Not that I wasn't really rocking with reggae, but it was with me and I knew what it was. But you know, as my mind progressed and I become open-minded to things, I really deep what I was listening to, and it's amazing.
Okay, wow. So, I mean, obviously, you've all kind of mentioned sound system culture. Does anyone want to kind of explain, just in case some of the viewers are not familiar, what you kind of mean by that?
I think Bushkin's the best person to explain.
Put you on the spot, Bushkin.
Drawing me out like that, yeah. But no. Well, the sound system culture, as I know it, is started in Jamaica, and it's I mean, we used to describe it as like two or more people on a ship sailing to a destination. That's how we used to describe ourselves as Heartless Crew, and that was kind of like you have a DJ and a MC and a selector, essentially, you understand, playing music and entertaining the crowd, you understand, and yeah, playing music and taking them on a musical journey. Yeah, that's kind of sound system as we knew it, you understand. And then outside of that, you've obviously got the speaker box and building an actual sound system, which again, these kind of things are kind of lost these days because everything's become digital, you understand. So from your power amplifiers and your speaker boxes and your mixer, and back then it was that one turntable. Yeah, man, these are all the elements that kind of make sound system culture when we're talking about it.
Yeah, precisely, and actually drawing on what you mentioned as well, Emma Louise, about the whole grassroots element, that, you know, it's the taking people on the journey, going, meeting people, building a following, kind of being in space with people on the journey. That kind of physical being there, feeling that music is definitely part of it. The instrumentals, the kind of riding the rhythm over the instrumentals, you might think of grime, you know, now, but that comes from somewhere. So there are many kind of facets when it comes to reggae, which, I mean, the type of the artists that you've mentioned, they're very diverse, and I suppose they all fall underneath the reggae umbrella. But there are some consistent things about, you know, orating over the beat, the people coming together to spectate about, you know, the clashing and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just fantastic stuff. Let me just keep my eye on the time because I can chat. So all right, so okay, so as second generation, if you will, okay, and obviously, Kez, I don't want to put you in second generation. I don't want to put any age on you, right? But do you have any? Do you feel that you have any responsibility at all to carry the music and culture forward, or do you feel that you do that? So, is
Yeah,
there a responsibility, or do you just kind of do that anyway?
I feel like it's a responsibility for all of us to kind of like, you know, keep the fire burning and keep the fire alive. Because I think it's like someone once told me like you have to be curious about the chorus of your elders, and I think for me it's about, you know, understanding that there is lineage to things. You know, things do come from somewhere, and yeah, for me it's like I'm a photographer, so mainly I do a lot of documenting and archiving, and I document kind of like, you know, the processes and the artists and the people I'm around. And I think it comes out of me wanting to first and foremost know what happened before, and also understanding that, you know, that if you document what was, you know, then now becomes them. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, naturally, you know, I'm starting to pick up wanting to, you know, find a place to store these processes and store these moments of time. So yeah, I definitely think there's, yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Do you feel like you have a responsibility, or do you just kind of do it anyway?
I think personally, as Black British musicians and artists that we do, I think growing up and kind of seeing the influence of our Caribbean culture in our lives, seeing the Caribbean artists that we know and love, listening to their music, and then being able to witness British-born Black people of Caribbean descent take that sound and mold it into an authentic British sound. I think, you know, it's up to us to make sure, like with them, that was a struggle in itself. You know, when I talk to people who are artists and who were around in the music industry, like in the 80s and the 70s, what they went through as Black British artists, trying to kind of cement themselves in the industry, having a voice and making sure that their voice was a strong British Caribbean voice. I think it's up to us to make sure that, you know, we recognize what they went through and we carry on keeping that authenticity of what we do, you know, kind of in honor of them.
Pushkin?
Yes, miss. Yeah, man, I totally agree, man. We definitely got a responsibility to continue flying the flag. I mean, reggae music's blessed us, and yeah, and so yeah, man, we owe it, And you know, one thing I find, like, reggae is not celebrated enough, and it's not really probably given the respect that it's due, and people not really paying the homage because it has birthed so many genres after it, and if we're not careful, it kind of does get forgotten about, and so that people, they don't really make the connection that what they're kind of listening to and doing has stemmed from reggae directly. So yeah, I think we definitely got a duty of care to continue pushing it and purveying it. And also reggae, the thing with reggae music, it's like, it's a healing, it's a vibe, it's a vibration. And with that, as time goes on, this is just in general, things get watered down and kind of washed down. So the music is not as pure, or hasn't really got the feeling. And I think that's one thing that we really got to like home in on, and make sure that people can connect with music again. It may not be in the reggae form, but in whatever form it is, it should still have that essence in it. And that's where I think we have a real duty of care in terms to make sure that essence is there and people are knowing, yeah, this is the vibe basically, because reggae music is all about a vibration.
That's a really good point. Professor Sonia Stanley Nair argues that, you know, reggae has given more than 50 genres of music to the world. So,
Yeah, good both of it.
you know, just more than 50 genres of music to the world. And also UNESCO recently, well, recently about a year ago now, the tail end of 2019, have actually recognized reggae music as an intangible heritage. So people are beginning to kind of clock or cotton on to the fact that there is something to this. And yes, definitely, it needs to be acknowledged. It definitely needs to be preserved. And there are many, I suppose on the academic side, academics are now starting to kind of really give it the due diligence and attention that it deserves, so that it can be in the academy and it can be taught. So I'm hopeful that going forward, obviously you guys are doing the stuff on the ground, but academics can help to kind of make sure that it's in curriculum and things, so that it can actually be there to stay. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions. Okay, so another question for my amazing panelists. So in which ways do you think reggae and Black British music genres, in what ways do you think they have influenced British society? And I'm talking, it can be musically, but it can be far beyond the stage and the mic as well. I should have given you a bit of a heads up on that question.
Oh, Kez unmuted. Go on.
No, you can go if you want. You sure? Now I was gonna say, yeah, I think like just Black culture in general has just had so much influence on the world, and I think, like, you know, we play a big part in how you know, culture is shifted, and I think a lot of that doesn't get the you know, the props it needs to, and I think there's a lot of people and a lot of diligent people that are putting a lot of work, and because of it, you know, things have shifted in an amazing direction. Not just for us, but also, you know, like, I feel like I say this to all my brethren, like, our creativity is healing as much as
Brethren.
Exactly.
No,
I was just about to say that.
Look, you can carry
oh
on.
yeah, literally, like, deep how deep it is in the culture, literally, like, brethren. So I say this to all my brethren, it's like our creativity is healing as much as it is capital, and I feel like it's almost become an anchoring for a lot of people, in like all the madness that's in the world. So I think in that way, like, it's done a lot for us, but also it's like, you know, set the trend and pace for a lot of things, and sometimes, like, it gets taken way out of whack, you know, being called urban and stretched, and it's like, yeah, there is neglect to it, but I think at the same time it's a beautiful thing, and it set pace for a lot of things, a lot of things.
Set pace. Yeah.
Yo, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the reggae, like Keza said, like, the music's influenced, like, literally everything. It's influenced so much, you understand? But from basic things as fashion, you understand, even like the way people walk, as Kez said, the way people talk, this has all come from, like, when Jamaicans come over and they bring a certain swagger and a certain confidence with them. And that's just infiltrated our culture over here. Things like dancing, you understand, again, that's part of the culture, and everyone just loves the Jamaican culture, the vibes, you understand, again, the kind of loud bashiness and the hype, you understand, it's proper influence, you understand, down to just small things. It's like, it's, you know, like, in a way, when you go to Jamaica, it's not like they've got so much money and stuff like that, but they've got style, you understand? You know, the man has got a certain style, you understand? And that kind of style over here, you understand, it's the exact same thing. People are coming over, and but they're doing it because maybe they haven't got the money, but they just got this, you understand? They're just doing it, and it's a kind of, they're just styling it, basically. But over here, it's cottoned on, and people just catch on, and they just follow the fashion, basically. So, yeah, man. And even, as you said, like, beyond music and stuff like that, you see McDonald's have got a jerk burger or whatever they're dealing with right now. Again, it's influenced the food and all these type of things. So, yeah, I mean, it goes right across the board. But again, people don't necessarily really pay the homage and give Jamaica or reggae music the respect it deserves.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say also, if you have a look at the or have a listen to the way that Black British people in general, especially our age, well, not Kez, our kind of age range, the way in which we talk. I know that the way in which we talk is given a particular name. I don't remember what it's called. What's it called?
London English.
London English, yeah. But you know, our accent is a fusion of Caribbean and British. Some of the words that we say has therefore been picked up by other ethnicities in the UK. Like you'll see a white guy saying brethren or wagwan, and that is from Jamaica. But again, it's like what Bushkin was saying, paying homage. Some people are not aware of where that comes from, and I think that is why we need to make sure that whenever, you know, we're out there or we're speaking about it, we need to kind of, you know, make sure that the authenticity isn't lost and celebrate where we're from, and therefore other people will understand why they're saying certain words or why they're listening to certain music or where this grassroots of certain music comes from that's now embedded in British society.
Definitely, definitely. And I think when it comes to the I suppose the acknowledgement or the knowing where things come from, it's about education. It's about and it's not necessarily everyone's responsibility to go around saying, oh, did you know where that word came from every moment? But at the same time, it needs to be kind of put into institutions, put into places where it's taught just as long alongside everything else. One of the things that when I think about my I suppose my kind of academic journey alongside is one of the arguments that I put forward was, especially in the mainstream, British mainstream, they didn't know about bass. Top of the Pops and the chart show, they didn't know about bass line, you know, and now we're finding the bass line in the mainstream. So we've got the bass line, we've got the London English, you know, I've had students, Wagwan Miss, you know, all sorts of, you know, and I'm looking, thinking, what do you know about Wagwan? So yeah, these are definitely things that are informing our British society and beyond. And don't forget, we've got Jerk Rice. Anyway, so that nicely leads on to the next question about appreciation versus appropriation. So have you guys got any thoughts? And you know, you might not have a perfect answer, but do you have any thoughts on how we can preserve or protect the spaces that we have, I suppose, naturally created as a result of kind of interacting and being in this culture?
I was gonna say, I think it's like about appreciating that we are in the position of power, with how we kind of like choose to, you know, capitalize off of like how struggleful we are, kind of thing. And I think for me, it's just about realizing that, you know, you can work within your peers and work to build things, um, that can go crazy, like far. So yeah, I think in terms of preserving things, that's why mostly I document a lot of the things I'm doing, and I pitch myself in a way where when I'm speaking to people, I can say, you know, I can document processes, and in that way, we work as teams to build things. So yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any other ideas? Anything else to add, anyone?
Yeah, you know what? It's a weird one because as Black people, yeah, we're givers, you understand? And again, even with like reggae music, the essence of it, it's a freeness, it's a giving thing, you understand? Like we're not, as a people, we're not like, oh, this is ours, we own this, we own it. It's just a natural vibe. We do things and a natural thing, and we're not necessarily always doing it for the results or to say that we own this. That's kind of a Western way of thinking. Like, okay, we've got to patent this and we own that and we own water. And water's free, it's out there, you understand? So it's a very weird one, you understand? Because as Black people, that's not our natural style. That's not a natural style that we gravitate to, you understand? Trying to lock something down, you understand? Like, and making sure everything's owned and it's all contracted. It's like, oh, all this is for one person, that kind of stuff. And that kind of goes against reggae music itself in a way. Yes. But then on the flip side, it's like to preserve it. It's things like this is very good. And again, as Black people work like communicators, our thing is more talking and stuff like that and sharing information. And this is the essence of us. Again, it's more of a kind of like, I mean, what kids are saying is good, documenting things and putting them in books and stuff like that. And it's kind of on my way what you're saying about the educational side of things. You understand? That's one way it can kind of be preserved. But again, I don't know if that's our natural
Mm-hmm.
style. Again, yeah, really and truly. And it's just a shame that people like to crab out our thing. Everyone likes to see what we got and crab it out and then try and own it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's just greed. It's greed, really and truly. And it's a shame that we have to kind of now think of ways to combat that, because really it's a freeness. You understand? It's supposed to be a love thing, and you understand? So yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of saying my natural thoughts. It's not necessarily a solution. You understand? Well, the solution is just to communicate. You understand? And continue spreading the love. You understand? That's the real essence of it. Yeah, can't really. These people, they love the vibe. And again, you know, when the people copy your thing and they say it's like flattery, and you understand, everyone loves the culture. They love the vibe. You understand? It's a shame that this can't be upfront enough to admit it and give it the real respect. You understand? But ultimately, we know they love the thing, man. They love bite off the thing. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No wonder they sound like a lyric, you know. I can make a lyric out of that.
You know, I'm just listening to you talk, and my brain is just kind of going, because what you're saying, if we put, I suppose if I put on my academic hat, if we think about people from you know, of African descent, if we go, you know, through the Caribbean, the way that we do share information and preserve information is orally. So it is about, you know, spreading the vibe, spreading the word. If we think about Eurocentric traditions, they are about writing things down. So, you know, this is you're talking the thing, basically. You know, this is research has kind of documented that sort of thing. So yes, and once something is written down, it's able to be preserved in a slightly different way to something that is oral. So what you're talking about, even though you're kind of thrashing around these ideas, these are real discussions and real kind of observations that have been discussed in the academy. So Professor, keep talking. Keep talking.
I'm just learning still, and it's just a natural thing how my heart feels about it still. It's funny because I was actually gonna say, you know, if we start, but I kind of held back that piece there. If we start writing down everything in books and stuff, that's again their style. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And that means we're jumping on a next man's style when we don't necessarily need to. But it's a shame in a way that we do need to, because if we don't do that, it's not documented. And what they do, they write everything down, and then when people read stuff, they believe it, and then whatever's written down, whether it's true or false, that now becomes the history, basically. So it's like it's a double-edged sword. That what we're gonna now have to jump onto the man's style and start doing what they do, and then again we're losing the essence of what we really do and who we really are. So again, it's a tricky one still, but I'm sure you'll work it out. We'll work it out, should I?
We'll all work it out. We'll work it out. I can't remember the full proverb about the lion and the hunter. The I think it's the lion never, if the hunter always tells the story of victory or something. Does anyone remember that?
I think it's if the if the story of the lion is always told from the perspective of the hunter, then no, the lion. Oh, listen, it's beyond. But I know the problem. It's a beautiful problem.
That kind of summarizes the whole thing, really.
Yeah.
Summarizes the whole thing. So I don't know, I'm just thinking, are there any other questions? And anyone in the that's watching, if you know the proverb, chuck it in the chat, and then we can share that as well. We're all supposed to work this out together, so you guys that are watching, if you know it, chuck it in the chat, and we'll definitely share it.
Yeah, I would like to hear that proverb. I was just going to say, I would definitely like to hear that proverb. It sounds interesting.
Yes, we all have to kind of. Oh, I'm seeing there's things in the chat. I don't know who's.
Listen, I know the proverb. I know the proverb.
I know, the thing is, I know it as well, and it's just it's gone. Okay, so
I was just going to add something on that quickly.
yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, you know, when you're talking about the authenticity of it, sorry, no, I was thinking of appreciation versus appropriation.
Yeah.
I was going to say just quickly that, you know, like just coming off of what you were saying, Bushkin, what we're doing about like the genre is about kind of sharing love, and we're not really a people that's just like, oh, you can't do that. I think authenticity is key. So for example, there's a huge difference between Peter Andre and Mysterious Girl and UB40. You see what I'm saying? So UB40 obviously, you know, done the research, And I think, you know, for what it was, what Peter Andre wanted to do, kind of put it into the pop market, he did what he had to do to get it into the pop market. So that kind of could be classed as, you know, what's in appropriation, whereas UB40 appreciation, and the sound of UB40, therefore the sound of reggae, is timeless.
That's a good point. When I remember growing up, I used to think UB40 were just black. I just assumed that they were, and I was shocked. And I was, oh, okay. But also, there's something about living that. I mean, UB40, they were living a class-based, you know, life as well, and lived in close proximity with you know, black people. So it does kind of add to that whole authentic aspect as well. Oh, somebody's put it here, and until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. Oh, Nathan, thank you, Nathan. Yeah, it would be Nathan, wouldn't it? But yeah, so that's the proverb. Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. All right. So, you know, the lion, the reggae lion needs to write some stories, I think, about its own culture and heritage and all that good stuff. Okay, is there anything else that any of you are burning to say? No. So what did you think about the proverb, at least, Bushkin? Now you've heard it.
Yeah, man, no, it's right. It kind of, yeah, it sums up in 2 lines, kind of everything we're saying in a way. So yeah, we've got to kind of come up with a way of really documenting this journey and making it solidified, and yeah, and kind of, I mean, it's owning it the right word. I was trying to say that, but I mean, it's something in and around that basically, because yeah, the thing is getting appropriated, you understand, and we all definitely know in our hearts that that ain't the way it's going. It isn't really too right, you understand. And again, the people, you understand, who are really the essence of it, always the people kind of losing out, you understand. Just like that proverb says, the lion's losing out, his story's not really getting told, you understand. Jamaica's not really being celebrated. It's still such a third world and poor country, you understand. Africa's being raped and you understand, rinsed and stuff like that. So yeah, man, we definitely need to kind of get our act together and strengthen up, and yeah, man, say our story and document it and kind of own it.
And I think, you know, I suppose that leads round quite nicely to Kez, believe it or not, because you are doing that kind of work. You are, you know, capturing, you know, the authentic culture that kind of happens in your local community. And I'm sure there are many others that are kind of taking photographs, documenting, taking control of the narrative, and kind of making notes about what they are seeing and what they are experiencing in their day-to-day life. So, you know, keep up the good work, Kez.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, because like I've always tried to appreciate that the process is the prize. I think a lot of the time, like I think as Black people, we're really good at you know, being in the moment and creating, you know, that energy. But I think sometimes those moments need to be documented, because it provides, you know, like generations ahead to kind of look back. And I was looking at this Adinkra symbol called Sankofa, and it's kind of like, to move forward, you have to be able to look back. And I feel like, you know, that accessibility needs to be able to be preserved and archived, so that, you know, we always have an anchoring in ourselves. And I think as long as we can make sure that we're doing that now for the future, and we're still looking at what's happened, then we'll continue to move forward smoothly. So.
Another professor right here. This is amazing. Like, and this is it. This is really, really important stuff. I'm just looking in the chat now, and I'm seeing some questions here that have come up. So, okay, so what do you think the future of Black British music genres will look like? How will technology and social movements impact them? Any ideas?
Go on, Kes. You was there first.
I think weirdly enough, like I was having this conversation with my boy the other day, and we were basically kind of like saying to each other that we don't really think artists have a big say in where the sound goes. I think nowadays it's about how producers are working, and I think producers are having a big impact in the way the scene is going now. Particularly, I think artists still have a big role to play in how music moves forward. I think at the moment, I think producers are really pushing the boat forward, and I think weirdly enough, there's been a huge merge between American artists and the UK artists. and I'm seeing more collaborations. And I think weirdly enough, there was a time where I feel UK artists felt like they had to get some sort of appreciation from American artists, but I feel like I feel as though nowadays we feel a bit more anchored in our own lineage and understanding that, you know, we've created, you know, grime, we've created a whole lineage of things that we can be proud about, and there's a Black British lineage that you know happened regardless of what was happening in the States. And I think now I feel like there's going to be almost a hybrid between the two, but in a more positive way and in a more progressive way, as opposed to kind of like kind of like battling and whatnot. But yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Bring another question. Oh, yeah, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, music, Black British music, which is just music in general, you understand, seems it stems from our kind of vibe anyway. I think at the moment it's looking a bit shaky because, again, the powers that be have come up with the around the whole COVID and these kind of things. It's, again, what I've noticed, they're taking the vibe and the essence, and this is the one thing that they can't really, or they don't know how to create, you understand? So they're really like eliminating vibes and they're making everything very digital, you understand? And it's going to make it very more difficult for especially Black artists, you understand? Because a lot of our thing is like performing, and it's that being there in the moment, that presence, you understand? Being able to kind of make people feel your vibe, you understand? That kind of element, they're really cutting it out, you understand? Via different things. Originally, just from like when you could buy a piece of vinyl, you understand? You can hold it in your hand and it's something physical you could look at. And then it went to CD, was a bit less formal, but you could still hold it and you could read the credits, you could read the big ups and who helped to make the music and stuff like that. That physical vibe is now gone. It's digital. You just have a tune on your phone or on your laptop, you understand? So you can't really feel the music, number one, you understand? And then it's just there, it's so disposable, you understand? So that's one thing. And then now with the whole social distancing and like nightclubs being shut, it just makes it even more difficult for, like, especially Black artists to really get their shine and to really get out there and kind of touch people, which is always kind of what we've been about, touching people through the vibe, you understand? You can make tunes in studio and stuff like that, and if they know that it's set formula, like, okay, you make a tune in the studio, whether it's good or bad, if they play it enough on the radio, it becomes popular. But they own all the radio stations, they own all the digital outlets and that kind of stuff. So they've got the monopoly on that whole thing. One thing what we did have, which was kind of a bit unique to us, was like the performance and that kind of passion, you understand? But now they've worked out a way to kind of almost sideline that, and they can get away with doing it the other way. So yeah, again, it's a bit looking tricky, but
I think you're frozen.
You know, God is good, man.
Is it me that's freezing? Okay, I think I mean, Bushkin was making some really good points there, and again, they were connecting back to what Emma Louise was talking about this whole grassroots connectedness thing here. I'm really hoping that we can get him back. I'm not sure. There are more questions. One of the questions was directed to Bushkin, so we'll see if he can come back. But somebody has said, going back to appropriation, I guess if people don't have accountability for crediting their sources, that perpetuates the Eurocentric culture of constantly extracting. Acknowledging and respecting culture is a small step in the decolonial project. Oh, I think we may have lost Bushkin altogether now. And so, I think...
He's back.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I got a call come through and I can't use it off instead of the call.
Okay. But we were enjoying it. We were definitely enjoying what you had to say. Oh, you're back on mute though, I think.
Yeah, well, now I'm letting you speak, mister. I don't want to speak over you, sir. I'm all ears at the moment.
No, I was just trying, as we lost you, I was just making connections between what you were saying about this, I suppose the academic term is haptic, that kind of physical stuff, that kind of, that element being lost, and connecting it back to what Emma Louise was talking about the whole grassroots, you know, building a following in that authentic way, being in spaces together, you know, physically, you know, touching the record, all that sort of stuff. You know, that is being lost in this digital age. And even without, I suppose, going too scientific, even with the MP3s, you know, if you look at the wave of an MP3, some of the parts of the actual, you know, sound waves, some of the parts of that wave are actually missing, which can actually have impacts on your central nervous system. I'm a sound therapist as well, so I know that sort of stuff. But yeah, so that the vibe can't hit necessarily in the same way because parts of the actual wave are missing as well. So yes, I think I'm going to stop rabbiting on, and it is now coming up to 8 o'clock. So I know, Zaretha, are you coming back to kind of
Hey, I'm here. Hiya. So we have a couple of questions. There's one here in the Q&A box. So it's from Hakeem Stevens. Hello, Hakeem. So what were the panel's take on the recent Lovers Rock film from Steve McQueen? Many people are very polarized on its content. Shout out to Emma Louise, Bushkin, and Monique and Kez.
Thank you. Anyone?
I haven't. I haven't watched it as yet, but literally like people have been telling me, "Yo, you need to go watch this. You need to go watch this. You need to go watch this." And I'm yet to take it in. But from what I've seen, it looks somewhat interesting. But you never know these things. Like I really want to understand, you know, how deep it's gone into the history of what's happened. I did some work. I just did a recent podcast about looking into the protests and outlets that we used back in the day to kind of like express what was happening. And I was looking at the Black Voice newspaper and reading some of the articles and understanding kind of like what was happening and how we were dealing with it and tackling with it. So it would be interesting to kind of like see if those stories align, because I literally have like the physical, you know, evidence from our perspective, not, you know, the mainstream. So yeah, I haven't really watched it, but I will get to it.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Go on, Bushkin.
No, you first, ladies first, man.
I was just going to say that I thought it was authentic. I thought it was something that needed to happen, because that element of the British culture is not widely known. The actors and actresses in there I thought was well selected. One thing that I did notice when there's a famous US black blog site called The Root. They put it out on their Instagram page, and the caption on it was talking about it basically it didn't necessarily relate to the content of the film. So I think for me that spoke volumes, in that that element of the Black British culture, which is so important to us, isn't widely known. I think there was something about the caption was about Caribbeans, but not relating it to British culture. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And I think I like the fact that they posted it on their site, but kind of felt a bit like, about the fact that they didn't understand what the film was about. Because that is, I mean, now a lot of Americans do understand that we do have our own identity over here, and we've been here for years. But I remember going to America back in the 90s and them just being surprised when they heard my accent.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched it. I have seen comments about it that have not been too impressed with it. I haven't watched many Steve McQueen things, but I am just from the comments I've seen and what I know of what he's produced. I am I don't know if concerned is the right word. if I feel that there is a something that's going to be just showing Black trauma, that for me is not enough. And I'm speaking from a place of ignorance here because, like I said, I haven't seen the thing, so I haven't seen the program. So yes, I need to actually see it to have a fully rounded kind of perspective on it. But some people were saying certain violent incidents or possibly violent incidents didn't need to be there. It didn't represent it at all. Melanick Shabazz obviously did The Story of Lovers Rock in 2011. And also, if anyone's interested in academic work, Dr. Lisa Palmer is one of the few academics, Black women academic, that writes about Lovers Rock in particular. So if you are interested in that, she is your girl, or she is your doctor, I should say.
Next question. Okay, so Bushkin, there's a question for you. So how did it feel to be one of the pioneers of a new sound? And what, if any, response did you get from any of the elders? And by elders, probably like the reggae community.
How does it feel? It's weird because again, we didn't actually set out to start a new genre, really and truly. And like I said earlier, it was just a vibes thing. We're just doing our thing. Am I still there? Yeah, we were just doing our thing on just off vibes basically and energy. It was like we came into the garage sound, yeah, in the very early garage days. It was just like house and garage then. And kind of we done a bit what was done, but then we also bring in our sound system culture because we was a sound ultimately. So we was essentially a sound playing garage music, but then we bring the bashiness to it and kind of sped it up, and we was chatting lyrics all over it. You know, we kind of broke the rules in a way. You understand? The rules of house and garage, and that kind of transpired into kind of speed garage and then grime basically. But I mean, yeah, I'm not really gonna take any glory from it. We were just doing what we was doing and having fun basically. Literally having fun with the music. Yeah. What was the second part of the question?
Did you get, what was the response from the elders?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Elders outside of the garage community were kind of, I suppose, non-responsive in a way. Or, I mean, should I say it? They were more supportive than not supportive. The garage industry itself was not supportive of what we was doing at all. But again, we was young and we was very brash with what we was doing. Again, it was going against their rules and their etiquette in a way. They were kind of DJing. When we came into the music, garage music, the music was primary and the MC was secondary. There wasn't even MCs, it was hosts. The host was secondary. The host would be behind the turntables. When we came, there was one DJ and two MCs. So automatically the MC was primary. And on top of that, we was in front of the DJ on the stage. We was jumping, we was wheeling tunes around. Things we had learned from sound system business. We were chatting lyrics right away from the start with him to the end. So, I mean, in hindsight, looking back, they wouldn't really be too happy about that. Like, who are these young guys coming in and just wrecking our thing? And on top of that, we bring a different dress code. Man, come with a kind of more road bashy style of dress as well, bright colors and all that hype. So the big men in the industry then, you understand, the dream team, Spoonie and these type of people, they weren't really happy with what we was doing. But I mean, hey, it's what it is.
And I guess there's another question in there then that sort of leads on maybe a bit from that, which is around, like, obviously now it's the genre's moving on again, isn't it? So there's a question around, where do you think Black British music is moving now? And particularly, like, when we're looking at different types of fusion, you're seeing a lot of like the fusion with sort of the Afrobeats and reggae. And another part of that is, do you think we'll see a re-emergence of reggae a re-emergence of reggae? So sorry, that's like a two-parter. Where do you think, three-parter, where do you think it's going? what do you think about the sort of the new sort of like the different fusions that we're starting to see coming up? And do you think there'll be a resurface of reggae?
Can I say something? Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
All right. So if we go back to my initial point, when we started, music migrates with people. So up until the 80s, Jamaicans were the largest Black descended group. Now it's Nigerians. According to the last census, we'll get a clearer idea, when the census is done, 2021. But 2011, Nigerians are now the largest Black descended group of people. So it makes sense that their music would shift. Jamaica has given the world more than 50 genres of music. So you find that the influence of reggae is found in West Africa. So then they begin to kind of incorporate that into their styles. And in the case of Britain, with that kind of bedrock of Jamaican music already in there and the introduction of, I suppose, more West African sounds, you're going to get that mix. It depends on where the next kind of large group of African descended people may come from that might shape how it moves forward. Yeah, so that's my 2 pence really.
I would say just kind of, Bushkin.
No.
I was just going to actually go off before when Bushkin was talking the last time. I would say there are still groups of people and genres of music, music lovers, people who still crave that hard copy, that quality sound, that vinyl sound, that CD sound. And there are kind of pockets around the UK. There are still like little record shops that you will find that have survived the digital age just because they've kind of changed the stock that they brought in to kind of supply and demand. So even though I think there are, the digital age has kind of brought to the surface the fact that, kind of lowered the quality of the sound that we have, and obviously people are just click 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 and then you can have a song. But there are still pockets of people and young people as well that I know who still go out to try to seek a vinyl or a CD version of their favorite song, and I think that kind of gives us hope of where the music scene is going, because there are the generations of people seeking that authentic quality music is getting younger, from my experience.
Literally, like I'm looking for a record player, like as soon as possible. I've been literally like last couple of weeks, I've been trying to find one. And I think it's something that I've learned to appreciate, like being born in like a digital age, and then realizing like, there is a whole analog, like even me, I shoot on film with my photography. I don't shoot anything digital at all. And I think there is a certain quality that should be appreciated with analog things. So yeah, like I'm literally in the midst of trying to look for a record player myself, and I will continue to shoot on film. I don't think I'm gonna start shooting on digital anytime soon. So yeah, I do think there's an appreciation there.
That is definitely confirmation of what you've just said, Emma. Again, it's that haptic, that touching, that interacting with something, a more kind of visceral experience of taking the picture, hearing the sound, going to the shop to buy that track, and all of that. That adds so much more to it. Have we got any more questions?
No, that's all our questions.
But are we due to wrap up? I'm not even sure.
Near the end, yeah. So yeah, we're near the end. So Monique, happy for you to close, and I'll do the final.
Okay, so yes, again, thank you to our amazing panelists. I enjoyed our discussion. Lots of knowledge being dropped here, lots of expertise being shared. Reggae is here, it's here to stay. Even if it's in, the bespoke record shops, or whether it's kind of changed form and it's now people versioning over this new Black British kind of sound, it is still there. We need to find ways to ensure that people have an acknowledgement and an appreciation of where it's come from, how they engage with it. And there are different ways that people are doing that. Some are just spreading the vibe, spreading the love. Some people are writing things. Some people are taking pictures. But we all have, we are all part of this amazing culture, sharing this amazing culture, and long may the vibe continue. What else can I say? So thank you everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed, and over to you, Zarefa.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Monique Charles, for chairing this amazing discussion. It's been a really, really lovely evening and a really, really lovely conversation, really kind of exploring the roots and looking at like the impact that it's made. And it's definitely for me triggered a few memories, particularly Bushkin when you were talking about the garage scene. So yeah, thank you guys for an enjoyable conversation. Thank you to Sophie and Louise, MC Bushkin, and also to Kez as well. This has been the No Baseline Home University. This is the final of the series of 4. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And for those of you that have tuned in for the whole series, thank you very much for joining us, giving us a little bit of your time every Thursday evening. We will be emailing you the transcription and also the recording of this, and that will come out to you in the next couple of weeks. More information about the No Baseline Home programme can be found on our website, www.brent2020.co.uk. And for those of you who may have watched it, and even if you didn't, a couple of weeks ago, we hosted a 7-hour online stream celebrating all things reggae from the borough, with interviews and performances, not only in the borough, in Jamaica and in Florida as well. And the stream is available for you to go back and watch. And if you go back to the No Baseline Home page, you'll be able to find the link to that on there. Thank you so much once again, and have a lovely evening.